Marine Corps Expeditionary Advanced Base operations require logistical support where and when Marines need it. The Airbus MQ-72C logistics connector leverages proven performance and reliability coupled with next-generation autonomous capability. As the Marine Corps revolutionizes warfare, the MQ-72C logistics connector evolves to support it. Visit airbusus.com to learn more.
Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners, thank you for joining us. I guess Scuttlebutt viewers as well. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your continued support. I am Vic. I'm here with Nancy.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Vic.
And sort of like the thing that we've been waiting on, I'm almost like giddy with excitement.
I am giddy. I'm just going to say it.
Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Ruiz, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
I missed you all so much.
Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back. Yeah. This is really great. I mean, honestly, it's almost been like 365 since the last time you were here, and honestly, we still talk about like what a great time we had last time you were on. So.
I was so still on the high, right? Everything was my first modern day Marine. Because I never attended modern day Marine as a fleet Marine.
Really?
Never did. That was something that was very far away at headquarters Marine Corps, and never thought about even, or no one even offered. Yeah. Like, hey, maybe you should go to modern day Marine.
I guess this is questions we should have asked last year.
Yeah.
But had you had much interaction with industry and acquisitions and that side of the Marine Corps prior?
No.
Okay.
Which is, now that I'm in this seat, now you can see how the senior leaders are focused on the future and making sure that they acquire the things that we need to win, but at the very tactical level, we're doing Marine things. You still have to be very focused, and because you're going to go into a fight with the Marines that you have and the things that you have now, not with the things that are coming. So we focus on. So it's interesting to see the different levels. Right. This is all very beautiful.
It's great.
It's great.
It's like the commandant just was saying, like, if you gave me the checkbook, we would buy a lot of really cool stuff. I don't know how well it would work, but we would own it.
It would. And then for me,
we'd be broke
because I have no authority, which is the best. And people think that I have authority, but I don't. And I definitely have no checkbooks, but they think that maybe I can have some sort of outside influence, right? But it is. They do have some things that you never thought about. There's just things are iterating so fast.
What I love what he said about it creates the idea, and it sort of lays, he didn't say that, I'm paraphrasing, but like kind of lays the seed bed for innovation within. So I may not have bought your thing, but where you're seeing the problem set and how you're going to attack it is going to spur my leaders to come up with our solutions. So that's good.
And you don't. It's early to tell, but is industry gonna drag us from the 20th century onto the 21st century, or are we dragging industry? Seems like industry's trying to drag us, and we're trying to bring budgets up to speed and get there.
That's a good point.
And so, but what I see here is next year will likely be so different because things are changing so fast.
God, aren't they?
Well,
it's insane.
And I think it's a great thing anytime you can bring a lot of really creative, out-of-the-box thinkers together in one place, and they start bouncing ideas off of each other, just contractor to contractor, business to business, just a lot of really creative thinkers here looking to solve problems for Marines.
And a lot of the people that I speak to are veterans. They wore the uniform. And so they found a place in this world where they can continue to contribute, stay connected, and they still have very vivid memories of what's needed, or what they, 10 years ago, this would have been helpful 10 years ago.
Well, they're almost like cultural advisors for industry, right? Like you can speak both languages, right? Like
the coolest thing last year, and I haven't found it, I don't know if it's here again. It probably is. It's the portable Porta-John thing.
I didn't see that.
I did not see that.
And I bet you it's here. And it's basically like the wag bag model.
Wag bag,
right? But if you need privacy, it's like this poncho that you just put it over.
Awesome.
And I had to try it, and I can't wait to see it again because I may take one. Because you never know.
You heard it here first, people.
You never know.
You scurry about in the woods.
95 and 66. Traffic could be at a
stuck in
standstill. You
traffic.
never know.
You
when
never
gotta
know.
Pop
You
the
just
tent.
pop the thing.
This is not what I thought we were going to be talking about this morning. So
I had a recommendation. Like, you need a little circulation in here because there was no like vents. You
That's
know,
a really
it was
great.
just a very
That's why they need Marines here to test this stuff out.
And then he was small enough that you could totally put it in your sock, which I did. I put it in my sock so you can, because we have pockets, but you can't use pockets.
You can't use pockets.
I'm not wearing socks. I don't know what I would do. Would it fit in my purse? Maybe, I don't know.
But probably a Lance Corporal invented that.
Yeah.
Got
that's really great.
Not having privacy.
I love it.
That is so good. But I do want to say, like, as we are looking around and we are seeing a lot of the innovation, there is a sense, and it's a theme that's come up a lot, where we're at a sort of an inflection point where the hypothetical is now the real. Almost like you mentioned, like, next year is going to look a lot different. And these folks, it may be the same folks, but they may be bringing, even if it's a similar platform, it's going to look or be adjusted or tailored.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, where we're in this world of seeming the rapid technological advancements, but yet in Ukraine they're still in trenches.
Yeah.
And so, kind of to your point as well, or the things that you're focusing on, like the individual Marine, we can't. Or let me get your thoughts on: are we at risk of being too enamored with the tech that we're losing the fact that, like, when these things are being applied, there are still Marines in trenches, or there are still people in trenches. In a lot of ways, it looks a lot like it did in 1918 when Marines were, in Bellarwood.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
you're right. And I think this is the role of the senior enlisted leader, to keep the Marines focused on. It doesn't matter what platform gets delivered to you, and you see it on open source. You see it on Instagram. You see it on. I saw an image the other day of Ukrainian against a Russian, and there was a K-bar that was branded, and they were going at it. Right, this is in the trench line.
Yeah,
and so
it's almost like a Waterhouse thing, right? With the Marine and the bayonet.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And then the frame was frozen for me, and I can see the K-bar, and I can see the blade, right? And wow, how things have not changed. The character of war, sure. And so that will continue to develop, absolutely. But for us on the field, you must keep the Marines focused on developing grit, and can they be resilient enough? Because there's no HESCO to return to.
Right.
Remember the walls of the HESCO, and you felt safe, and you got rid of your gear, and you debriefed, and you did 4 hours of post, and then you did 4 hours of working party, then you got sleep, and then you went back out.
Yeah.
And you felt, okay, now I'm in danger again. But
once you left
crossed the HESCO,
water,
and now you're doing the hunting, and maybe you're even being hunted, and there's no HESCO. And can you build me a Marine that could withstand that pressure every day? You can't come up on comps like you used to. Right. You're going to have to find points to get your logistics. You're going to have to get your water and your food. So how do you build me a Marine? And this is where the question's always asked: the balance of Barracks 2030 and how much money is going into it, and war fighting. Yeah. And I think what they're really trying to say is, why are you wasting so much money on barracks? Right? When we needed to buy some of these things, right? But a professional will tell you that if you can't get the Marines ready, this is their prep time. Yeah. And get them in a place where they can eat what they're supposed to eat, sleep how they're supposed to sleep. They're never going to be able to get to the point where they can be as resilient as we need them to be.
I think it's too short-sighted to I mean, Marine, there's to avoid the nuances of being a Marine and that juxtaposition between your garrison life and your deployed life. It's not a black and white thing. Yeah. That they're either always in the suck, right, or they're getting too coddled. Yeah. That's not a good discussion, because you can do both. You could do both. You could have amazing barracks, and also teach them how to forage when you go deploy and be on an unmanned island for a month, right?
It's like what we were talking about just before we started recording, how important it is to feel happy, happy, not giddy, but happy and fulfilled in what you're doing, and it makes you better at doing what you're supposed to do.
And the Marine Corps may be your talent. I don't know. You may be super talented at, cyber and super talented at understanding weapon systems, but it may not be your purpose. You're trying to figure out where you belong in this world, and you're trying to figure yourself out. You're 19 years old, you're 22 years old, and you're still trying to figure it out, but you're super talented at this. Then you may not be very happy. You'll not be very fulfilled because you still haven't found what it is that is pulling you.
So how do you make that a Marine's purpose? How do you make this his purpose? If he's got the talent, he or she has the talent. How do you turn that into purpose?
Yeah, so I think this is where leadership comes in, where you have the ability as a sergeant, staff sergeant, corporal, whatever, to tap somebody in the shoulder and say, you're different. Like, you are super talented here, but I see other traits in you that I think, have you ever considered going to or being stationed at, and you keep feeding that thing that's burning inside of them, right? And then maybe in that search for more, they find their true purpose. And it may be that they have to exit the Marine Corps to find their life purpose. We are okay with that, right? It may be, I hope, that you stand in this incredible organization where, I'm really good at this, and I really like being with people, and I really like performance, and I really like delivering for my leadership, and I'm dependable, and people rely on me. I feel at home. This is me. This is my purpose, and they stay for 31 years, 32 for me, going on 32, and so everyone is different, and everyone, I think I have a connection with this young generation more than I did the millennials, right? In that this generation is joining without towers having fallen. They join because they're trying to figure it out.
Find their purpose.
Like for me, there was no towers that fell. There was no fight. There was little things here and there, but I was trying to figure me out. And I think this generation is very much the same. Right?
No, I hadn't really even considered that. I always, because it was 17 years of my 20-year career was in the Long War. And so I almost sort of roll my eyes at the thought that this emerging generation of Marines only know about 9/11 through their history books. And they don't know, they don't get it. But you're 100% right. It was a calling, it was an obvious calling for our generation to join and fight. You're right. For this upcoming guys, they don't have that kick in the ass right now. They could do so many other things.
But you felt the pull, and you knew where you needed to be at a young age because you saw the environment and you didn't want to get left behind, and you wanted to be part of the conversation. You just knew that inside of you. You may not been able to express it, but you knew the right thing to do. And these Marines have flickers, right? They have little ambers that are getting brighter and brighter, and they're like, and they'll find their way. And we just got to be good enough to build that fire. And just like me, it wasn't for God and country that I joined. Along the way, I figured it out, and it was people, and then that turned into patriotism, and then that turned into
that's right.
The focus and the mission of the Marine Corps.
It starts with the guy or gal to my left and right. Then it turns into my team, my squad, my platoon, my company, my battalion. Next thing you're like, oh shit, I'm a patriot.
I tell a story about Lance Corporal Fuller, who was my roommate. And Lance Corporal Fuller was everything that the Marine Corps told me was inside Lance Corporal Fuller. That you're gonna get when you get to your duty station, you're gonna get your roommate, and your roommate's gonna take care of you, and this and this. And a lot of the times that doesn't happen. You get the opposite of Lance Corporal Fuller, right? But for me, it happened, and it was, hey, this is where the mess hall is. Hey, this is how we field day, and I'll take care of this, you take care of that, and this is where formations are. And then I'll never forget this. I tell the story of him asking me to follow him as he took his 3-mile run, because this is a Thursday, and Friday we had a physical fitness test. So he went on a Thursday evening to take a PFT just to ensure he can still get a 300 Friday morning. So that was
motivator.
injected into my soul. It's like, oh, this is what Marines do.
Yeah.
They take a PFT before the PFT just to make sure that they're going to be good. Right? Little did I know that when he left, got meritoriously promoted, and he left because you couldn't put corporal and a lance corporal together. They brought in a new lance corporal, completely opposite, right? But it was too late because Lance Corporal Fuller got to me.
You're already there,
I was already there. Yeah. And for 31 years, his standard has lasted for me.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Through all
That
the
is so
ups
good.
and downs, it was
Leadership
there.
by example, right?
From a Lance Corporal.
That's amazing.
Because you saw it in action.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you see here. The other day, I was at visiting the Marine Corps drone killing team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you've heard about it. And I could hear the drone, right? But it was too late when I heard it, right? And
wow.
And then they did what they had to do, and then they showed me this demonstration of a drone getting after a target.
Yeah.
But for me, the sound was still in my head, and you put yourself in Ukraine, and you put yourself in Russia, and you see the images of those Ukrainian soldiers or Russians throwing their helmet, last-ditch effort to hit the drone, and save themselves, and then that took me back to the rifle range. So we still do paper targets, we still do the butts, right? Because you have Marines who never heard rounds snapping and cracking above your head.
Yeah.
So it's not an accident that we put Marines in butts. It's by design, so you can hear the cracking and the rounds impacting the berm, and that you still must act and you still must perform. And now I thought, well, now do I need to put drone noises to inoculate the Marines that you still must act?
Wow.
Even when you hear the drone, you still gotta execute.
And there is a sort of almost Pavlovian aspect to it, right? Because like morning colors, right? Like even if you're driving, you hear that thing, you're like, roar! Stop your car, man. Like,
that's right.
It's not even a conscious decision.
That's right. And an outsider looks at you how weird you are.
And you can always tell, too, the guys are like timing it, like, do I leave the PX now and get coffee? Color's about to go. Let me just stay here and hang out for a
when you're young, right? You're diving into your car. When you hear you hear this clock in your head, you're diving into your car, and then you get to be a little older, and you'll do anything. You'll step out to be in front of colors. And how you have matured and understand the price.
And become a patriot.
That's right.
Just like what you were saying.
Yeah.
Well, last year when we talked, you spoke about veterans and the importance of veteran Marines as leaders to today's Marines.
Yeah.
Is that still a priority for you? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it is. And I think we did a lot of stuff with a lot of organizations this past year. But I think I've made a turn as of late, and I'm still trying to figure it out. And hear me out, because here comes
that's what you're here for.
Here comes the hate mail. Here comes the hate, right? So
the hot take.
Yeah, hot take. So it seems to me that everywhere I go, I see the same street names, and we have the same monuments, and we revere our history so much because we chose to follow certain battles, and that's it. And then we chose to follow certain names, and that's it. And along the way, we have not ignored, but because we are so connected to the big names and the big battles, that we have left behind the Lance Corporals with the Navy Achievement Medal with a V, or the Staff Sergeant with a Navy Com with a V, or battles that led to a bigger battle, the forgotten things. And so I go to different bases and stations, and I see street names, right? Basselin Road, or Vandergriff, and I see, if you go to Paris Island, you see even older names. They're 110 years old. And we refuse, we won't even, maybe we haven't even looked at it. We don't even know what those names mean anymore. Street names.
It's almost inoculated us,
right?
In a way, right?
Yeah. And it's falling apart, and it's like not legible anymore, but this is the name of the street. So my point now is, what if we took a young Lance Corporal's name, or a young whatever person's name, and we recognize the street. we recognize a building, we recognize, so instead of not choosing to evolve, choosing instead to pay attention to those that came before us. We can't get every veteran's name into something, but when one name who would never otherwise have been remembered gets remembered, then everyone around that person feels they weren't forgotten.
Yeah.
And it was worth it.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think I failed the veteran community this past year in that I was trying to get them to reconnect with me and the Corps and re-engage our Marines and teach them about why discipline is so important and why it mattered for them in the fight. And I was pulling them in when I should also be, hey, this is what I need to do for you because you did your time.
Yeah.
Right? You did your time. And therefore, if I can pay attention to your time on the field, maybe it's your name, maybe it's the battle that you were in, then that whole crew may feel not forgotten and may want, and hopefully
that's
that
really
pushes
interesting. I really appreciate the humility in sort of saying that. A lot of folks, even if they have that capacity to be that humble, will wait till they get the uniform off, right? And you're still in the chair. I think that's really commendable.
Yeah,
truly.
I think we're missing it. And I think we can do better.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, we had the benefit of getting to view the documentary The Gift.
Okay.
And there's so much I think that's there. Like
the Jason
really,
Dunham story.
Jason Dunham story, right? And from Huseba.
Okay.
I think there's so much there because one of the things that we say, you hosted the Veteran Support Organization thing over the summer.
Yeah.
That loss of community.
Yeah.
And I think if what you're talking about is a great way to reconnect the veteran community so that they don't feel like they've been forgotten.
That's right. There's Dunham Mess Hall, right? So everyone connected to Dunham feels like that's my mess hall too.
Yeah.
Well, and building a little bit on what you said, the Leatherneck writing contest for this year to kind of go along with...
Shameless plug, I love it.
Right, shameless plug. For Marine Corps 250, we changed up our writing prompt a little, and it's, okay, the Marine Corps has the 3 touchstone battles. What's missing? What are the new touchstone battles? I haven't read we're still working our way through the judging, and after this week I can dig into them, but I'm really interested to see what the Marines come up with. And maybe this will play into what you're talking about a little bit.
One of them definitely has to be the amount of speeding tickets people are getting at Al Assad back in 07.
That's a touchstone battle.
That is a battle. That was a real thing.
Yeah, but it is I found as I researched that it is a process. Like you can't undo a name. It must that person will forever be in place in this street name unless they have dishonored the name. Then there's a process to remove the name and on. So, but I think it's time to maybe get after that policy and change. Yeah. And while we can, we should remember. Yeah. And we don't have to wait 80 years and see yourself at a Marine Corps ball video sitting in the chair answering the questions about what it was like to be a Marine 40 years ago. Right. When you have the opportunity to do it now.
Or you don't have to be a part of the Travis Manion Foundation to see that Travis Manion is still very much part of our fiber as Marines, right?
That's right. So we'll see what we can do in this next.
That's really great. I think that's really great.
People freak out. It's like, you're erasing history, so I'm going to go, what's your problem? What's wrong with the history? No, I revere our history. Yeah. I'm just saying there are plenty of Lance Corporals who are now 50-year-olds or 40-year-olds. Sure. Who did incredible things. And the least we can do, if we actually just put a little effort into it, is maybe an NCO lounge named after them, or a street name, or something that whole platoon will be remembered because of that kid's name, right, or the battle that they fought.
Story. It's like we say on Scuttlebutt, stories matter, and everybody's story matters. And as long as we keep telling those stories, it if it's somebody who's no longer with us, it really helps keep that person's memory alive. It makes it really matter.
Yeah.
And also the experiences are less tactile.
Yeah.
And I've commented on this, and I'm a small petty man, Sergeant Major, but I see a lot of high-ranking officers, and again, it's a different Marine Corps. But I joke around when I came off recruiting duty, so I went to in for the invasion, OF1.
Okay.
High five and like combat extra ribbons. We're the only ones. We are gods amongst men.
Yeah.
Went on recruiting duty. I came back. There were Lance Corporals like 3 rows high.
Yeah.
I'm like got my NAM,
Yeah.
and so there was so much deployment. There was so much going on, so much operating.
Yeah.
That the experiences of we were living history, and it was very tactile. Now I see senior Marines who don't have as much chest candy, but it's not against them. It's a different Marine Corps,
right.
And so that what we would call that storied history of our warrior ethos isn't maybe as quite as tactile. But we need to remember that it wasn't that long. I'm not that old, man. I ain't that old. It was just not that. It was here.
Yeah.
And I think also with social media and just, I don't want to get into politics, but like, there's an impression that we lost, or that we didn't achieve what we went to do, and so somehow the service there wasn't as important or isn't as storied because it wasn't John Bass alone, during the island hopping campaign. And so I think what you're getting at is really important, is that what you did mattered, and we didn't fucking win, man. If you were in Al Fajr, we fucking kicked those guys' asses, man.
And I don't want that to just fade away. And then when that fades away, then you fade away, or you get yourself into a corner, and you get yourself down this spiral. And no, I want you to be connected to the Marine Corps, and I need you to fight for the time that you were on wearing boots. And I want to help with that, and I think I can, and I want to get after that this year, the next couple of years. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's
We'll
cool.
see. We'll see.
Yeah, and how is that being received so far by the veteran
We'll see.
community? Okay. All right.
No
See,
worries.
fight
John
the comment
Bass
section.
not going anywhere.
No.
Jan Bass will always be around.
Definitely.
We tried to do a little bit of it years ago with the Crucible. We changed some of the stations to more modern, citations, and but I think we stopped, and I think
That's
it's
a good
time
one.
to pick it back up.
Yeah. And so, how does that working then from the other side? Because I know when we talked last year, the idea was that we don't want to lose all of that experience, so we want to tie in with veterans, and so that we are helping with the mentorship and the experience, and we're not losing that resident knowledge, even if you're leaving the active duty force or you're no longer wearing the uniform. You're still and you still need to be taking reins under. Are we getting to a point? Are we closely getting to a point where our experiences are not? I don't want to say not relevant, but aren't as the amount of mentorship we can do is more broad strokes than specific. We could all do JJ did type buckle, right? But as far as my experiences in Iraq and Afghanistan, I don't know if they really play.
Yeah, I think you share the sentiment of probably of many, and what I would tell you is that in this age of, I guess I'll use mental health, right? Mental health, where young people are trying to get after their everyday life, and sometimes it kicks the living hell out of you, and it puts you down. It is the ability of those who have gone before them to communicate to them, because you might have gotten out as a sergeant and you're dealing with a sergeant today. They still look at you like a sergeant, like you were a sergeant. You may be an older person in front of them, but you have the mentality
and mindset
when you left as a sergeant, and you can communicate that today. That's why I think Dakota Meyer hits home, because he's a sergeant. Right. He may be a 36-year-old sergeant, right? But he's a sergeant. He shares that rank with that Marine today. And how you can put things back together for them when it all falls apart and they don't have an impulsive move to take their own life when life I still to my chagrin, my failures, that I can't get after the suicide, all the services and American issue with suicide. But for an organization that talks about culture and take care of its people and how we fight for each other, and that's why we fight so hard, that we can't kick the shit out of suicide.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think this is where I have the veteran need to inject themselves into their world, because you have life experience and you have your experience as an NCO during your time. And you, better than I, can connect with a Marine today.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, it seems insurmountable, because no matter how much the VSOs are working, there's organizations like PB Abate never stop.
Yeah.
Pumping up PB Abate and things that Lieutenant Colonel Tom Schumann are doing. But the numbers continue to rise. Talking about the gift. With David Neese exposing the struggles that those Marines had with the gift that Corporal Dunham gave them.
Yeah.
Even they've struggled a lot. And I don't know what the answer is. I think, but I think the fact that you're identifying the problem.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to say, well, that's a veteran problem.
Yeah.
That's a VSO problem.
Yeah.
You guys just aren't doing enough. But you, as the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, to identify that it's a problem and that needs to have the shit kicked out of it is a good thing. Yeah.
And I saw 2 veterans yesterday, and he spoke to me very passionately about when they exited, they used the Skill Bridge program, and they got themselves into a job, and then 3 months later they were laid off.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And then all of a sudden, they're out of the Marine Corps, paychecks stopped coming, and now they're laid off, and they have families, and then they send in 20 resumes, 40 resumes, 75 resumes, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it went silent. And how quickly, without your family, the Marine Corps family wrapping up around you, can you spiral out of control?
Wow. 100%,
and so they found each other, and then they would have contacts with each other. They used what the Marine Corps gave them, which is an aggressive, initiative-based type of attitude to, we're not going to give up. We're going to check on each other every week. So they would come online, and they would say, okay, how many applications did you put in this week? Who did you put in 2? Okay, and then they would hold each other accountable.
That's
so
amazing.
great.
I love
and then
that.
once one got the job,
It's like a battle buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But once one got the job, then the other one helped the other one pull them up.
That's awesome.
Right. And so this is what I want, and it's here. So you can't be in the sidelines. I don't want you to be in the sidelines. And I have a lot of work to do to let you back in to bases and stations. And
that's a good point.
Because we don't do a very good job, because we're just moving forward. Yeah. Like we do, right? Marines.
We do, yeah.
Remember the EAS platoon? Right?
This is interesting, and I hate to keep talking about myself, but it's my favorite subject.
No, we love it.
Yeah.
We love it.
But that was one of the things when, so I had Echo Company 3rd Tracks, which was the MEU platoon, or the MEU company, and we would source to the various MEUs. Sergeant Major Black was my first sergeant. Yeah, so it was great. But we would have it, so a unit would come off the MEU, I would get the EAS, just sick, dumb, lazies, and crazies, and I could, because we were gearing up for the next MEU, I had to send them over to HNS. And I looked and saw what was happening with these really great NCOs who just had made a decision that they want to do something else with their life. Yeah. And then we send them out to do FAC maintenance or to supervise the fat body platoon or whatever it was. I mean, I don't think you could say that anymore, but, I'm old, but the guys who needed additional PT instruction would... And so you would see their performance go down, and all of a sudden these guys are getting NJP'd, and they're getting ADSEP. Like, dude, this guy was, 4949. And so what I stopped doing was, in a much similar way of the sort of the way you were looking at veterans, is like, no, you're going to stay with that platoon that's working up, because they're plussing up. And when they get a drop of new guys, you're going to mentor them. Not the dude who I don't want them around.
That's right, sir.
Or each other, for God's
we
sakes.
literally took EAS Marines and shipped them off, and you're not important to me anymore. Only these Marines are. It was a different environment, different time. We were in a hurry for the next PTP. Got it. But now looking back, and what we probably got used to doing, it became a thing, and now I want that to go away. I want the Marine to have an opportunity to at least talk to the platoon before they drive for the last time outside the base, say their piece, and that we are sending them off with something.
Yeah.
A little token, I don't know, a piece of wood, something that says you're here.
More than their DD-214.
Right. And then we just, where's Jones? So he got out 2 weeks ago. Like, if that comes out in conversation, we fail. And Marines on active duty see how we may be treating those Marines, then why would they come and search us out? But if we show them how we value their service by allowing them a moment to say their piece before they drive off, then they'll have a taste in their mouth that's worth something, and then maybe they'll return.
Yeah.
And it's okay that you did 4 years and you did 6, whatever it is. That will change you for the rest of your life, you know. And one day you'll wear the red jacket, Marine Corps League jacket, right? Maybe when your kids are grown and you'll come back
get
to
your
the
red
fold,
piss cutter,
right? and then you'll start volunteering and you just get pulled back at some point. I just don't want you to wait 40 years until you find it again.
So good.
And how are you getting that message out there?
I'm trying to be as transparent as I can be with what I'm after, and if someone's listening, that they are using their place on the field to make a phone call to someone who's still in uniform. Hey man, I heard Sergeant Major talking about, a conversation about veterans returning and speaking to Marines. You hear anything about that? No, man. It's like, okay, well, I'm available. If you ever have a PME, I can come talk to them about operation whatever. I can talk to them about the workup, and I can talk to them about what you're about to see. Because here, give me a call and I'll come in. I want that to happen.
So how can we help you get that word out?
You're doing it now.
Okay.
Nice.
You're putting it up in the air.
All right.
Yeah. And then this is your way of continuing to serve. This is your way. So everyone must find their own way.
Yeah.
And this is good enough right now, and it fulfills a service bug that you have.
Yeah.
And I would just say thank you for not leaving the cloth, and thank you for continuing to help us.
Oh man, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Sergeant Major, for saying that. Yeah, I we won't tell them that actually the way that this happened was that when I got hired, I looked and said, "Hey, you got a sound studio? You guys should do a podcast."
We're like, you're it.
No, but I definitely do feel a sense that I want to share my experiences for better or for worse. Yeah. Because some of them are hilarious to me, at least, and other ones, if kind of like what you're saying, maybe one guy or gal finds a link to something that they didn't know about, or hey, he keeps talking about MECEP being so awesome. What is MECEP?
And shameless plug for Leatherneck. Keep reading Leatherneck, because we are telling great stories about the entire Marine Corps family, and that means active duty Marines, that means Marine veterans, retired Marines. And spouses and families. It's all part of that Marine Corps community. If you find yourself, you can probably find it online, but Marine Corps University here, I'm not going to tell that secret, but maybe off camera or I have volumes of Leatherneck magazines. Nice. And they're by decade. Oh. And so I've gone through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and I've come back to the 70s. And the 70s, for me, so far has been where the most beautiful writing about the Marine Corps exists. From January, you pick a 1974, whatever it is, because you have that veteran organization, or veteran writing, right? And then you have active duty writing, pushing the Marine Corps. And then you have the vets from World War II and Vietnam, saying, no. And this beautiful conversation back and forth inside that Leatherneck magazine. But the way they wrote, and how passionate enlisted and officers about standards and discipline and proficiency in warfighting, just beautiful. So if you find yourself... Well, they were at a real crossroads then, right? Because, we were looking, Goldwater Nichols hadn't happened yet, and we were like, do we need a second land army? The standard cliched. And so, but I think you're right, the passion that Marines had and their ability to articulate that passion with literature
It really, I think, pushed a lot of the conversation to keep us going, right?
And as we've been celebrating Marine Corps 250 and Leatherneck since November and Gazette, I started looking back at a lot of the older issues to see what do I want to publish from the archives. And I found that for Marine Corps' 200th birthday, there were some really, really beautiful pieces looking back at the Marine Corps history, and that we've republished. They started a series then called Giants of the Corps. And I had no idea that that's what that series came out of. I just knew that from working at Leatherneck. Giants of the Corps is a thing we do, but it has its roots in that 1970s time period, because they were Vietnam veterans, but also still really looking back at World War II and the Leatherneck staff.
That's right.
From that time. And it's really, really clever and creative writing. The magazine had such a great personality then. It's a lot of fun to look back at that.
I found the beginnings of PME, Professional Military Education, inside the magazines, and how the very first class ever created, was, and then it was published, and you see the students there, you see pictures of the very first students attending the very first NCO school and the very first, staff NCO school. Just incredible. And you'll find that the problems of today, you were having the same discussion.
I was about to say, like, what's old is new. Well, awesome. Speaking of sort of how we're growing, obviously we're in a time of innovation and change, and I didn't mean to smirk during change. I have like a thing in my teeth. No, but the Marine Corps does get prickly about change at times. So how now? What are we? 12 months, 18 months into talent management. Obviously, force design has maturated to the point where we even dropped the 2030 off of the concept. We're doing infantry battalion experimentation. We just did proof of concept for ACV on the MEU. So a lot of really exciting stuff. Sergeant Major, what are you seeing in the Marine Corps? Like, what is your state of the union? And then, like, how do you see us looking in the next 3 to 5 years?
We are spoiled with talented individuals. I just look at rooms sometimes, like the campaign of learning, the COLAG that the Commandant put together. I'm like, good Lord. Like, colonels and master gunnies, just incredibly talented folks who are, the Commandant says, don't touch this, but give me this, come back with COLAs, right? And that's how you see constant iterations of force design. You just keep changing, right? We said he was going to be a staff sergeant squad leader, and then no more sergeant squad leaders, and now we're back to sergeant squad leaders. And so we don't mind saying something, going for it, failing at it, and then we were wrong, and then moving out again, right? So I really love that about the Corps and the colonels. And you got the young Marines who are getting their hands on these pieces of technology and breaking them. It's got to be Marine proof, right?
For sure.
And then teaching industry, like, you think this is how this needs to get employed, but I'm telling you, this is how you employ it. And this momentum that's building, it's beautiful to watch. What I have to watch from my position on the field is, what do you gain and what do you lose? So if I can text today, accountability, because I can gain efficiencies in time. You can get to work faster, you can get to the range faster, or whatever. Just shoot me a text. I gain efficiencies in time. If I can say, everyone lives in different places, so how about you PT on your own, text me where you're at, I gain efficiency. You can PT next to your home, and you can come to work after you PT, right? I gain some time. What do you lose? And this is where I come in, is that if that's what you do, then you miss the opportunity to develop a Marine. So accountability is for the commander to understand what they have in their formations to put on the field. Right? That's the purpose of accountability. The purpose of a formation, and Sergeant Major talking about formation. Old school, blah, 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 right? Well, if you respect what the Marine Corps has put in front of you, the way you promote Marines, the way you award Marines, how you handle a Liberty formation, how you handle, a tradition, because traditions have a purpose, right? If you handle those things well, then what you'll get is you don't have to wait for a command climate survey in order to tell you that your formation is jacked up. Right? So if you're texting accountability, if you're texting PT, then you're going to wait for your command climate survey, and they're going to tell you, we don't do anything together. There's no trust. We don't PT. We don't do. I hate my platoon sergeant. I never see them.
Drill.
Right? But you're gaining all these efficiencies, and you're doing great things in your MOS. But you're not developing as a leader of Marines. A staff sergeant can't see that the corporal is standing in front of the formation and can't deliver information with a sense of confidence. That when they see the corporal do right face, the sergeant right face, forward march, double time, calls cadence, the platoon's not responding, so then I can see something's wrong. Right? Or the sergeant doesn't know how to call cadence, they're not strong enough in their voice, which you may need in battle. I don't need to wait for the survey to tell me. I see it. I can make corrections. PT on your own, the result of PT on your own is exactly what you imagine. Not very good.
Wow.
Right?
Never thought of it that way.
So if you can see, if you can push, imagine a Marine Corps where, and this is my pitch on what should be the future of the Corps in regards to fitness and human performance. Imagine, you remember, because it still happens today, you take a physical fitness test, there's a Marine out there with a clipboard. Pull-ups, crunches. Someone crosses it, signs it. It goes into the S3. They process it 3 days later. Bing, hits MOL. Here's your score. That still happens today. Why? Imagine a Marine Corps where it's an iPad. And we took all of your scores since the moment you were pulley, height, weight, single parent, two parents, what neighborhoods, where were you born, this country, a different country. We have height and weight, body fat, and we have all this data that's being accumulated by you. You take your physical fitness test, iPad puts it in, and then bing, in return, you get an individual assessment of where you've been, where you are. Did you know that in the last 3 years, you lost 3 pull-ups, you gained 6% body fat, and you've lost 60 seconds in your run? This is the plan that you can take on to get back to or improve your scores, and this is your diet, and this is where you can find the foods in the mess hall. And if you go 20 yards down the street, there is a warrior and athlete resilience center that you can talk to Billy and Johnny, who can help you get after your ITB band, who's been keeping you. And then you get there, and then you find a new parent support program that's upstairs, right? Oh, you're a new parent? Imagine a Marine Corps that's connected that way.
That would be amazing.
Right? Imagine if you're the platoon commander, and you're getting everyone's assessment, and it's giving you, in your platoon, this is your low standard, and this is your high standard. This is who was dehydrated, because I have little things on your body that tell me that you're hydrated or not. And I have something on your body that tells me how much sleep you've been getting the last 30 days. In your platoon, all these things are happening. And you as a platoon commander can adjust your PT schedule. You can adjust your work schedule in order to improve the performance of the Marines. All of that is here. The technology exists today, right? So what kind of Marine do you want to be? Do you want to be the clipboard Marine? Who you're happy that the MOL score
just
hit?
Number crunching.
Right? And then imagine if we had the right size gear for you. A 5'3" Marine with long legs and short torso and I can find the perfect size gear for you, so I don't break you at boot camp or MCT or SOI, and you don't arrive to the fleet broken, because I gave you better gear that you can train with. And then maybe you would have a formation of Marines that have found this inner strength and confidence about them. And not by accident did they get a roommate that cares about their fitness, and that's how you end up with fitness. Right. That is by design. That fitness is not a hobby. That is by design, that you must prepare your body and your mind to withstand the future pressures of combat that you see today in open source. Right?
And it's a perishable skill. 100%.
That's right.
I had to walk 7 blocks yesterday, and
He's
like
still feeling
it. Yeah, limping around like an idiot.
So that's what I want for the course there. It's going to cost a little money, and none of that is here.
But I think the return on investment is huge, and I know I'm getting signaled that you got to go.
Yeah.
But the return on investment is huge because it goes even beyond even the deploy. Like, it's a readiness issue. If you got a bunch of people who are broken, I got to get replacements for them, or I'm deploying understaffed. I'm not making my McCree, and I'm failing, my ITX or whatever, and then at the same time, then that Marine is broken, leaving. So now you got a massive medical package that goes to the VA, and now that's coming out of taxpayer money.
And how much money do the services pay for medical retirements for first-term Marines? So if a 22-year-old gets 30% or more on the disability, you're paying them forever.
Yeah.
For the next 50 years. So why would we want to break Marines?
Yeah.
Not that we do on purpose, but because we are not a Division I type mentality service yet, which is this is what I want. That those who break early and we send them off before they finish their contract, you're paying them for the rest of their lives. And I'm happy to do so because this is what we did, right? But if you can move this to the left, feed them right, rest them right, put the kit on them right.
Correct. Yeah, the right sized gear. Yeah.
Then you break them less, you save more money, and that money can be used for barracks. The money can be used for better weapon systems.
Yeah.
Because you took care of the people. The Marine is the weapon system in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. It's amazing how that works, yeah.
And that's a more important type of efficiency right there than everybody PTs on their own. That's short-term efficiency. That's not long-term, big picture efficiency.
That's right.
Nice.
So we're pretty darn good now. We've kicked everyone's tail anytime we stepped on the field. I just think that there's a better version of us.
Yeah.
With all of our culture and all of our history, with a little tweaking towards the future, imagine a Marine Corps that has these things in place. Who would want to F with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no one.
If we're going to be juiced up to do it, right? Not like, I need more rippets.
Yeah. If you are
right across LD.
If the culture and history has already led us to 250 years of kicking everyone's butt, and we made these adjustments, you can get another 250.
Agreed. Well, Sergeant Major, this is unbelievable. If I wasn't getting the hook, I would want you to stay. But I know you got to go.
We appreciate your time so much.
This has been so good, and
I appreciate you.
I mean, you're awesome. So I guess
thanks so much for stopping by.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, listeners, hoorah.